Hey there guys, I'm just going to quickly post this while I'm doing some work here. I was thinking about it, my introductory posting, and I was watching it and I realized I kind of lied a little bit regarding the black cards from Illusionist or whoever does the cards. I actually do use the cards, but the problem is because I don't have all the required gimmicks for some of my gimmick tricks, I don't use the black cards regularly. I've never been a fan of the it's a trick deck theory. In all the years that I've worked in restaurants, I've never really had anyone say to me that must be a trick deck. I've never had anyone say to me with a regular deck that must be a trick deck. I've had more people say I'd hate to play cards with you, but I've never had anyone try and call me out on using trick cards. Now, whether that's my presentation, whether that's my style, whether I'm intimidating because I'm standing up there, I'm a bald big guy looming over them while they're trying to eat their food, who knows? But my experiences with the black cards have been nothing but positive. The only one negative thing that I can think about them is if the restaurant's dimly lit, you need you might need to look a little harder to find out what the cards are. But other than that, like for instance, the black ghosts, like with the white and the red and the black, the nice little contrast. I've never had an issue with those. I've never had an issue with the tigers. I've never had an issue with the vipers. I've never had an issue with the shadow man. I've never had an issue with any black card. And I'm wondering if everyone's hesitant to try and use them because of no one likes change. No one likes, magicians don't like anything that's different. I have no idea, but every time I express my opinion on these, I get hammered. And frankly, personally, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to use the cards that I want to use. Whether, if they're freaking blue, then I'm going to use blue cards. If they're pink, I'm going to use pink cards. But I'm not going to use pink cards. I don't even own pink cards. So if I had pink cards, I might use them, but probably not. But anyways, but it all goes down just to personal preference. If you want to use a deck and you feel comfortable, then go ahead and use the deck you feel comfortable with. I feel comfortable with a certain style of deck, which is mostly the bicycles. I like the way they feel. I've gotten used to the Masters decks because I like the thickness of them, and as a result, that thickness is translated into all the other Illusionist decks, with the exception of the 1800s. But I'm going to use the deck which I feel comfortable with because my gimmicks, like my double-backed or some of my other gimmicks, are specifically set up for white, like a white-faced deck with like a red back. That's going to be the cards that I use most of the time. Not because I'm anti-black deck, but because it's the only tools I have. If my tools were available in different formats, then I would use those tools. Sadly, they're not. So I will use the black deck, and I have actually. I was thinking about it, and last week when I was working in a restaurant, I had the black deck in my pocket. So I kind of lied there, but it also helps that I have a vest that's got a bunch of pockets in it. The only thing that I will say is that the black cards do wear differently than the white cards. The edges seem to, I guess, whiten with use. Whether that's just because of the paper that's being used, who knows? I have no idea. But again, it's the tools you use. I've had people say, like, why would you use them? Why would you use something that's different? And what's funny is the guys that are saying this are the coin guys that use like Morgan half dollars or the Walking Liberties and like coins, like, and I'm in Canada by the way, coins that no Canadian has ever seen in their life. They're using these for their coin routines, and that I'm getting flack because I'm using a black card. At least people have seen the cards. I'm sorry. A king of spades is a king of spades. An ace of spades is an ace of spades. What the hell is a Morgan Walking Liberty half dollar? That's 75 years old. Like, what Canadian has seen those? I'm sorry. Like, no offense to the coin guys. I understand why you use these coins. They're large, they're shiny, they're easily visible from a distance, and that's just the right size for palming and stuff like that. But if you're in Canada, use a toonie, use a frickin' loonie. Those are the coins that everyone sees. So when someone says to me, "Oh, you can't use anything that's different," and I see them bust out these coins, I'm sorry. I call bullshit. And that's all I'm going to say is just, frankly, you got to look in the frickin' mirror before you start criticizing me and solve your own issues before I can even listen to you. You have no credibility when stuff like that happens. So I have never in my life said this is what you should use. I have never said to anyone you have to use this because. I have always said use the tools, use what you feel most comfortable with, use what you feel best suit you, and then at that point in time, see if there's others, if there's other things out there that can fill all your needs in perhaps the same or a better way. If they fill your needs in a better way, then by all means go for it. If they don't, then forget it. Why even bother? So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. I just want you to remember though, is if you're going to criticize other people, remember to make sure that those criticisms don't apply to you. And at the same time, if you're going to criticize other people and try and force your opinions on them, you have to be able to accept other people's opinions trying to be forced on you. You can't be so close-minded that we have to do it your way and there's no other way. And if you're going to do that to me, then I'm sorry, I'm just going to shut the door and not listen to you, because I can't stand pig-headed people. I can't stand people that won't listen. I can't stand people that don't accept that there might be another alternative out there for someone that might want to do something differently. If you're one of those people that you have to do it just because, and you can't back up, you can't give me a reason, you can't back up what your excuse is, then I'm sorry, you can't talk to me. If you say I use these cards because they feel better, they're crisper, they tear like this, they fan like this, then fine. By all means, you've got the right to that opinion. But if you say to me, you've got to use these cards because, then I'm sorry. Like, you got to give me a reason. It's just unacceptable. And there's enough magicians out there. There's enough different types of styles and genres and personalities out there that there's room for everybody. There's no reason why we should all be cookie cutter magicians and use the same materials, for the ambitious, for your card warp, for whatever. There's no reason for that. If you want to use something that you feel suits you, then by all means go for it. If you don't, then you know what? Don't use it, but don't tell me why I should be using what you should be using. As you can tell, I'm getting a little worked up. This is a sensitive topic for me. I hate people telling me what to do or what I should be doing when they can't themselves actually tell me why I should be doing it. It doesn't make sense. And every person I've ever talked to, especially regarding the black cards and the white cards, they can't tell me why they should be doing this specifically. And the closest anyone's ever gotten to me was a friend of mine, Morgan Mondab. He's actually said these are the reasons why you shouldn't use black cards. These are the reasons why you should use what people are familiar with. And then he busts out his coins. And when you try and put that back in his face and say, well, why aren't you using toonies or loonies? For visibility purposes, for these are the way my gimmicks are. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. You can't have it both ways. You can't bust my ass for using cards that people aren't familiar with when you turn around and start using coins that people aren't familiar with. Morgan, man, I love you. You're my bud. You've got the knowledge and the know-how. But on this one thing, I'll continually fight you. Now, granted, I haven't seen you do coin magic for a long time, so that very well could have changed. But for all the people out there that do have this way of thinking regarding coins and cards and stuff like that, just remember, if you want people to be like you, then be prepared to have a bunch of imitations as doing what you do. If you want to be unique and individualistic in your styles and approaches and your presentations and your performances, then you know what? Do what you need to do to be unique and dynamic, but for God's sake, don't conform to the masses if you don't feel you need to, and if you don't feel that you have to. Be yourself, dude. If you use a black card, use a red card, use a blue card, don't use cards at all. Be yourself, use what you want to use, and do what you want to do. That's all I have to say.